This video is brought to you by my supporters on Patreon. Hey guys, in this video I'm going over how I made all of the top pieces for Witch Mercy. So the jacket, the corset, and the cape. To create the corset, I wrapped myself in saran wrap, that's what it's called, saran wrap, and then duct tape, and drew on the pattern. I looked at the reference photos to figure out like where all her designs are, because this is a really weird and complicated design. It's got a bunch of like different colors going on and there's a weird pattern, so I make that as best as possible, drew that out on duct tape, went over those lines, cut it all out, making sure to mark which pieces were which as I went along so that I would be able to put it back together later, and then transferred that onto just some scrap fabric I had lying around in order to create a mock-up and make sure everything fit right. Sewed that together, tried it on, and made any notes about where I needed to adjust things as I went along. If you want to skip all of these steps, I do have the patterns up on my store Envy for all of the pieces that I'm making in this video besides the cape, because the cape I free-handed. I don't think I have cape patterns, but I do have the corset pattern. Anyways, once I made all of the adjustments, or marked all of the adjustments that I needed to make on this mock-up, I took it apart and transferred it onto the actual fabric I would be using. So I didn't get any photos of me sewing together the corset, or videos of me sewing together the corset, but here it is all sewn together, and what I'm doing in these specific clips is just folding over all of the raw edges and giving it a nice clean hem, and then sewing all of that down, not together, it's already sewn together. I sewed a zipper in the back, but again didn't get footage of that just because I was running out of space on my computer at this point, so I couldn't record everything. But what I'm doing here is taking the buttons that I made, and I have a video already up on how I made all those, and the little foam pieces that I made that are just like the little details she has on her corset, and taking some super glue and then gluing those into place. So to create her cape, I took this old like tablecloth kind of scrap fabric that I had lying around and just cut out a shape that looked like the shape that her cape would be. And I looked at a reference photo for this and just cut out basically like this half circle and then made it like super jaggedy and come to a point. And I cut out two pieces of that, sewed that together, and then flipped it the right side out and sewed up the edges. I also sewed and folded down the little corners in that last clip so that it would have a kind of like wrinkly look when it draped around my shoulders. Here though, I've started working on the jacket and I'm just cutting out the different pattern pieces. I have the pattern up for this on my store Envy as well. I mentioned that earlier. Once I had all the pieces cut out, I started sewing everything together. For the jacket, I sewed the light brown piece just directly on top of a full dark brown piece rather than splitting it up into different sections like I did with the corset, just because I wanted the jacket to be a little bit thicker looking in appearance, if that makes any sense. Here I'm sewing the sleeves together. I'm sewing the yellow sections into or onto the brown sections in the places where they go, and then I'm going to fold over the edges, like the little jaggedy edges, fold that over to give it a nice hem, and then sew it closed so that it will have the actual sleeve shape before attaching it to the jacket. The last things I attached to the jacket in terms of sewing was the little collar that she has, and the yellow lining on the collar is just yellow bias tape. So this next part that I'm working on is creating a hole in the back for the little PVC pipes to poke through where I need to stick the wings in, and in order to get the placement for this, I had a friend help me by pinning it in a kind of janky square shape, so that I knew which sections to cut out, and then I folded over those edges so that they would have a nice clean seam on the outside. So fold the raw edges inward and the part that's not going to be seen, and sew that down. After that, I glued on some more details using super glue, the little buttons that she has around her sleeves, and I sewed on some snaps to try to keep the jacket closed. My snaps weren't strong enough though the first time around, so I ended up using safety pins. Anyways, that's all for this video. That finishes all of her top pieces for the costumes. I hope you found this helpful. Stick around for future videos and check out some of the ones that I already posted. Thanks for watching. Have a lovely day. Bye!